You are listening to the Pot.Live podcast. I'm your host, Lenny G, and this podcast is going to teach you all about what's happening, what the trends are, the latest news, the thought leaders, the business leaders in the cannabis industry. As this industry moves forward at a rapid pace, everyone needs to adapt. Everyone needs to change to what's going on. And we're going to bring you those guests. What are they doing to make their business successful? What are they doing to get their product out there? How are they getting exposure? How are they dealing with all the changing laws? That's what Pot.Live is going to be all about. And make sure you visit Pot.Live, download the app, go to the website, and you will see all of the digital media assets from articles, videos, podcasts, everything. The latest news and trends will all be at Pot.Live. Thanks for listening. Enjoy the show. Check out the new MJ.com. Connecting the culture, silencing the stigma. The only destination online where you can educate, locate, entertain, and shop. You have VIP memberships. You've got a full shop and marketplace. Industry Insider gives you all original content to our blog, all the best articles from thought leaders around the world. You've got medical information, the ability to get your medical marijuana card. You've got delivery. You've got all the digital media content you would need. You've got brand partners, business solutions, locate your dispensaries, find info on any strain you can imagine, play games with our 420 trivia game, download the free app, check out MJ.com. Welcome to another edition of the Pot.Live podcast. I'm your host, Lenny G, and today we have a special guest, Dr. Jared Helfant. Jared, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Awesome. What's your position at Sparx?
I'm a co-founder / president of Sparx Cannabis, which we're a California-based vertically integrated cannabis company.
Beautiful. So why don't you give everyone a little background on who you are, how you got into the industry, and then we can dive into your company.
So I'm a dentist by trade in South Florida. About 4 years ago, I started getting interested in the cannabis space in general. You know, in Broward County, where I am, we had a large opioid crisis. And, you know, I always thought, you know, the CBD and cannabis was good alternatives. So I started researching in the industry. That led me to get an opportunity to invest out in California. And I talked to my father, and we turned that into this company that we predominantly own and keep building it bigger and bigger every day.
Great. So where exactly you're located? Just in California, is your operational centers out there? And why don't you talk about the different products? I know you've recently transitioned from wholesale to retail, doing both. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about the different things that Sparx Cannabis does?
Great. No, so we have a 80,000 square foot mixed light cultivation center in Monterey County in the Salinas Valley. Where we grow all different kinds of strains of cannabis. We have full spectrum LED lighting. It's fully automated, environmentally controlled, fully automated irrigation, fully solar powered. We're one of the few that are fully solar powered out there, and that produces all our flower. We also have a manufacturing plant where we make oils, resins, soaps, any type of manufactured products. And we have a distribution center in Monterey County. All this is in Monterey County as well, where we are able to sell directly to dispensaries and package our products and make our pre-rolls. And in Sparx Cannabis, as a retail brand, we came out with a line of pre-rolls, single 6-packs, 12-packs, and jarred flower as well. And in the new year, we'll be coming out with a line of cartridges and pens, which we should say now will be all natural. There'll be no additive oils. The cartridges will be all metal-free, actually, and trying to be one of the safe, legal structured companies out there.
Great. We could just start off. We usually do this at the end, but why don't you tell everyone where they can find more information about your retail products?
Our retail products, if you go to www.sparxcannabis, SPARX cannabis.com, shows you all our locations and about our products and about our farms in general.
And when you produce the products, do you white label for other brands, or do you just wholesale to retail outlets and let them sell your brand?
Right now, we're not white labeling for other brands. Probably that's something we'll get into soon. We use the flower for, and package and label it under our brand, Sparx Cannabis. And we sell wholesale to other distributors who would then in turn white label it or sell to dispensaries and so forth.
So obviously, California and Colorado have been kind of the pioneer states in the U.S. for legalization, and everybody's watching how everything's going. Each state obviously has different regulations. Each county sometimes has different regulations. So in Monterey, what have been some of the obstacles you guys have had to go through to keep profitable business going?
I mean, profitable, yes, that's one of the hard things in this climate with all the taxes. I mean, in Monterey, you have, besides the state taxes, when on the cost per pound, in Monterey, you have canopy tax. You get taxed based on the size of your greenhouse, the amount of space you have to grow flower. In where our manufacturing plant and distribution center are, there's also a city tax as well, which is 5%. And you pay that on all revenue coming in. And that's besides your income tax, besides the tax per pound that the state charges and the excise tax that the state charges. So, you just have to, you have to be able to be big enough, I guess, to be well funded to work through that in the beginning, especially.
So is the goal for a newer company, is the goal more to just get that brand out there and build awareness and build distribution channels as opposed to the bottom line of the profit per dollar?
I would say if you're starting a brand per se, not necessarily a farm or manufacturing plant, but starting a brand, the goal would be to get out there, be in as many places as possible, have as much shelf space as possible. It comes down to being well funded, and that's what a lot of the large companies are doing who are very well funded. So, you got to compete with them, and the shelf space and the more stores you're in, eventually is what's going to turn you a profit.
And I know Sparx prides itself on being a little different in the fact that they really want to get in touch with the smoker having a certain feeling when they use your product, as opposed to just getting a sativa or an indica or just getting high. Can you talk about the way that your products actually try to evoke a certain feeling in the smoker?
Well, it's more of how we categorize our product. Sativa indica is, I guess, the standard, and that's what people know and understand, but it's a little misleading. Not all sativas make you feel a certain way. Not all indicas make you feel a certain way. It's actually what's called terpenes. Terpenes are the aromas. When you smell cannabis, the flavoring and aromas, that comes from terpenes. And terpenes are in fruits and flowers and everything. And the terpenes is actually, and how they interact together, it's actually what gives the different feelings and so forth. So, we have two lines, exhale and excite. Exhale would be feelings of more relaxed, maybe a product you would take before you go to bed or just want to chill out and, watch TV. And we have our excite line, which is maybe something you would wake up to or, when you're out and about, smoking. And we don't categorize based on, is it a sativa or an indica? We look at the terpenes that are in those particular strains, how those terpenes interact, and then categorize it based on how those terpenes interact, which I believe is the more future of the industry and, gives a little more reality to the feelings that the strains give you.
So how do you suggest, obviously, we have the old-time user who's been smoking for decades. We have the new user who's just seeing that everything's going legal. Let me try this. We have the medical user. We have the, obviously the recreational, like we said. How do you suggest that people educate themselves on what type of strain that they should actually try?
Well, I think one is if you're buying it legally, you're going into a dispensary, and the bud tenders in that dispensary have an array of knowledge. And I think talking to the bud tender and really, learning, having them have you understand about the different products they have. Because it's not just the strain; it's also the way you want to use that cannabis. Do you want to smoke it? Do you want to vape it? Do you want to eat it? There's tablets, there's tinctures, there's so many different ways now. So, I guess it's, what's right for the consumer. And I think the bud tender is the best person to, go over what your goals are and then have them suggest from there.
Sure. Let's talk about we have a lot of business owners that are listeners to the podcast. So as you're building your business, can you talk about how maybe you have tried to manage overhead, how many employees you have, or how many team members? Did you start lean? Have you expanded? Can you just give everybody a little background into how you've built your team and maybe what that consists of, what type of roles that consists of at the current time?
We started with a 20,000 square foot greenhouse, nowhere near as high tech and automated as the 80,000 square foot one we have now. And, I think that was good in the sense that, one, it taught us a lot. All the negatives that could happen, happened in the beginning, and, we learned from it and went forward. But I think, with all the taxes, with the cost of everything. And there's still a lot of people that aren't 100% trustworthy out there. So I think you got to work the kinks out in the beginning and be as lean as possible. You want to hire someone you could trust, someone now that has, a lot of knowledge, and be as lean as possible. Right now we have almost 70 employees between the manufacturing and the distribution and cultivation and sales team. But we started 3 employees. I don't think you want to overdo it in the beginning because there's so many hidden expenses. If you think you need $1 million, you probably need $2 million. There's so many expenses you don't even realize, especially, with the taxes and so forth. So, I would say try to do it as lean as possible in the beginning and then, expand from there.
Speaking of taxes, we see a lot of stories of the older generation. They don't mind going to the legal dispensaries and paying a little extra because they're taxed just because they want a legitimate product. How do you translate getting any brand, whether it's Sparx or any brand, into, the younger user who's still, or the recreational user who's still going to their corner dealer and getting it on the black market because they can get it so much cheaper than the tax legitimate operations? How do you try and market to those people?
Well, one is the market, in California and Colorado, and I think mostly California especially, brands like Sparx and other major brands out there are really marketing to an audience, and showing they're cool and it's a lifestyle and there's merchandise involved and all that like any other brand, and through social media and events. I think that people are starting to take affinities to certain brands in general, wearing their clothing, wearing their hats, using those lighters. I think that will help, the younger, more, hype generation. But the other thing that consumers have to be careful about is just the safety. I mean, we see now, with what's going on with vaping, and the one comment that they've seen from all these vaping crises is that it's been black market usage. When you buy something on the black market, you don't know what's going in it. If it's vaping, like, these black market companies are putting, like we see, vitamin E and coconut oil and glycerin, and, a legal company that adheres to the testing and regulations and standards of their state would never use products like that. The vaping cartridges itself would be heavy metal free and tested and third party certified. Same thing with cannabis. When we grow our cannabis, we are pesticide free. We use all natural ways, of growing. We have reverse osmosis, so we make sure there's no heavy metals in our water when we're irrigating. Our greenhouse is locked down, so nothing, no bacteria is getting in it. There's a lot of different methods when you're just buying in the black market. These black market dealers are, the farms that are growing it are just doing it the cheapest, fastest way they can to come out. They have no testing regulations to adhere by and so forth. So you got to be careful. So, I think that with what we're seeing now with the vaping crisis is safety is paramount. It's better to spend $8 more, $10 more than, than putting your health at risk.
Yeah, I agree. And what do you think about what's the best way to consume cannabis in your opinion or experience? Is it just straight flower? Do you try stay away from the other methods?
I think that's such a subjective question. I mean, if you talk to a lot of these old school guys, they're going to say, you smoke it like it's always been, all these new ways per se, aren't what they go for. But I think it really has to do with the person. If you got somebody who needs it for medical and, they have their lung issues or anything like that, an edible or a pill form would be much better for them. If somebody wants to do it more discreetly and they don't want to get as high, vaping, but I think it's more of somebody's personal situation. I don't think there's really one best way for everybody. The people who seem to have done it the longest seem to enjoy the old school method of, smoking it, whether it's out of a pipe or a bong or a pre-roll, but still seems to be the most popular.
Yeah, it is interesting. And I do a lot of these interviews and speak to a lot of people in the business, and nobody has a blanket answer, right? Even CBD affects people. You could have 10 people take the same product. It'll affect all 10 differently. Same with smoking cannabis or 100%. Taking cannabis. It's really amazing. I think that's all part of the education process and trial and error as well, and makes it such a unique product and industry. So it's pretty cool. So tell everybody, has there been a funny story as you're building this business or getting into it, or maybe you weren't into it in the younger part of your life? Is there something funny that happened as you started building this business?
Well, I mean, I don't know funny, but we've made a lot of mistakes that we left off. One thing we're doing this month is we call it Sparx Awareness Month. What we're doing is all those old drug PSAs from the 90s, which made weed the worst thing ever, which worse than prescription drugs, which is obviously ridiculous. They're spoofing them, and where it comes out next week, and we have videos and ads, and we have a lot of funny takes on these old, drug PSAs. So, we'll start having that on our Instagram and in different medias. But I think people will really enjoy it.
Great. And we'll put your handles in the show notes. So what's your Instagram handle? Is it at Sparx Cannabis?
Exactly, yes.
Oh, perfect. Excellent. So we'll put that in the show notes along with the website. All right. To finish up here, tell everybody what's one thing you're super excited about in the industry and maybe one thing you're concerned about as well.
Well, one thing I'm excited about this week is that the House passed banking reform, or not passed. Well, they passed it. Now it goes to Senate, because I do think that banking is the biggest hurdle right now. I mean, the government wants to talk about the safety of cannabis. I think the lack of banking is the most unsafe part of it we have right now, whether it's robberies, and that's what's causing the black market, even more, when people don't have means of banking, nothing's going to be 100% regulated. So, the first step, is really exciting this week.
Great. And anything that concerns you?
I mean, still what concerns me in California is the amount of taxes, how strong the black market is. I still don't think that they're taking the right steps into, making the legal market stronger than the black market. They're trying to shut down black market businesses, but they're not giving the legal market the tools they need to really succeed. And I think that's a little concerning. And hopefully other states don't follow that.
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said. So Dr. Jared Helfant, thank you so much for being a guest. We super appreciate your time, and thanks for being on the show.
I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Everybody check out Sparx Cannabis. Try out their new line of retail products, and we will see you next time on the Pot.Live podcast. If you're listening to this podcast, that means you like digital media. And where is the home for all digital media content in the cannabis industry? It is Pot.Live. That's right, Pot.Live. That's where you'll find all of the podcasts that you like, just like the one you're listening to right now. All of the video content that you love, and all of the written articles, trends, news, whatever you need, it's all right there. Entertaining and educational, the home of digital media content in the cannabis industry. Visit us at Pot.Live and download the free app at your Google Play Store and the Apple iTunes Store.